How easy that would have been. Alcohol was not, in fact, the solution, but I sure gave it everything I had. Turns out, if there's anything stronger than my appetite for food, it was my appetite for alcohol. From my very first drink, I knew I was in love. I loved how it made me feel, what it did for me, and I could drink. No matter how much I drank, it was never enough. What began as fairly normal teenage drinking became regular, heavy drinking through university, and that evolved over the years into a very unhealthy relationship with alcohol. With my love and appetite for alcohol, I naturally developed a fierce tolerance, requiring me to drink more and more. My growing tolerance led to a real chemical dependence. By the end, I needed alcohol in my system not to feel intoxicated, but to feel normal. Not only was I physically addicted to alcohol, my life revolved around it. I drank like it was my full-time job, and my work as a server pretty much enabled it to be so. Over the space of 12 years, my life had spun out of control. At the end, alcohol was my only focus, my only need, both physically and psychologically. I needed alcohol in my life. I needed it to live. But I was smart and aware, and I hid things well. I was high functioning until I wasn't. At the end, I knew I had a problem. I knew I could not face the day, let alone an hour, without the prospect of a drink to come. At the end, I drank by myself whenever I could, as much as I could. I drank myself to sleep every night and woke up with a drink to start my day. Fun fact, alcohol suppresses the respiratory system. So for me, alcohol made it easier to breathe. Another fun fact about alcohol, when it is the center of your universe, when it consumes your thoughts, and you can't imagine living without it, and you wouldn't want to try. Alcohol makes your world very, very small. You don't experience life. You don't really experience anything. So while I had found a way to numb my pain and distract me from my fears and worries, I had given up something bigger in exchange. Really living. Life should be about the highs and lows and everything in between. During my years of alcohol dependence, my life was about this drink and then the next. In November 2008, I was in hospital again after a spring, summer, and fall of lung infections and repeated admissions. I was told that I needed to stop drinking for my health, that my body couldn't keep this up, but I knew I couldn't stop. Sure, I could put my mind to it and abstain from alcohol for a while. At that time, I'd been in hospital for 3 weeks already, 21 days down. But I knew if I stopped drinking for any real length of time, I would be miserable. I knew that I would eventually prove to everyone around me that I needed alcohol to be okay, that my life required it, that I couldn't function without it. I would be such a sad case. They would probably beg me to take it up again. That's truly what I thought. So I agreed to stop drinking, to prove my theory, to prove to everyone what I knew. I went through a treatment program for a few months, and I was doing it in spite of myself. Every day I counted, and every day I kept score for others to see. But at some point, and I'm not sure when, I found I was doing it for myself. Discovering sobriety for the first time in my adult life allowed me to rediscover the Kelly I had lost. That 9-year-old Kelly with hopes and dreams. It had been so long, but I was getting her back. I have kept on going on my road to recovery. And as happens with most everyone on a similar journey, I have had my ups and downs. It has not been easy, and my life has certainly not become easier. Messy and complicated and imperfect would be a much better description. But what I learned and what I know is that life is about feeling it all, every bit of it, The joys, the successes, the trials, the defeats, the fears, the worries, the happiness, the calm, the blah, the average. It's all okay. Without alcohol, I know what I'm feeling is true, and I can trust it. I'm not living through a haze. I feel pain, and it can bring me to my knees. But I am also capable of experiencing joy that will bring tears to my eyes. I am not so fearful of the bad feelings anymore. There is worth and value in it all. Now, all this being said, my life is absolutely a work in progress. At times there is temptation to escape from it all, to numb what feels too much. And some days it really is all too much. But then there's another day, or really there's another moment. My goal is no longer to live my life perfectly. That stopped long ago. Every day I am practicing remembering what I know and learning to trust the resilience and strength inside of me without alcohol. In October of 2002, I went into emergency feeling exceptionally short of breath. Now for a CFer, this can be difficult to gauge because I'm always short of breath, almost by definition. But this was different. The day before, I was able to do my morning run, around 5 miles, a good hour. Run, checked off my list. Just part of my daily physio routine to keep my lungs clear and healthy as possible. The next day, though, I couldn't run 15 seconds. It was not happening. I kept it up for a few minutes, stopping every 30 seconds to catch my breath, but something was up. Later that day in emergency, my chest x-ray showed a rather significant pneumothorax, or collapsed lung. This was my initiation into the world of pneumothorax. It was all new to me and it came out of the blue. Chest tubes were put in stat, and I was admitted to the unit. Chest tubes hurt, so I was given narcotics to manage the pain. And narcotics are okay for pain, but they have some nasty side effects as well. One of those, some of you may know, is constipation. And in my case, this was very quickly the result. Constipation became a bowel obstruction, and bowel obstruction, I must stress, means nothing is getting through. Nothing is moving. Not a bit, not a little, nothing. And a bowel obstruction hurts like nothing else. I'm talking unbearable cramping, like labor pain, doubled over in the fetal position kind of pain, cold sweat, a vice grip, twisting my insides, churning, paralyzing pain. More pain medication just made the problem worse. One day became 5 days, became 14 days, became 21 days, became 28 days. It got this bad, all while still having to deal with that actual reason for admission, that darn pneumothorax. Doctors tried everything, but everything that should have worked just didn't. There was no progression, no steps forward. Everything was just getting worse. By day 28, I had suffered a rapid decline. My muscles were wasting. I had lost 15 pounds. I was on intravenous nutrition as I hadn't been allowed to eat or drink, nothing by mouth, NPO for 21 days. And after that length of time, nothing moving, I looked 11 months pregnant. My body was going through the hardest battle it had ever faced, trying to get my paralyzed bowels moving again, while also trying to preserve lung function in the face of a very stubborn lung collapse. My existence was pain. Each day, attempted treatments, medications, and procedures failed. I was losing hope. Each day, things were getting worse, and we were losing the battle on all fronts. I say we because my doctors were doing everything that should have worked, but things were not going our way. I was facing a very scary unknown. How was this going to end? My bowels were so swollen and inflamed, they could rupture at any point. and then bleed. And you know how that might turn out for me. At any moment, my right lung might collapse even further, forcing more invasive treatment. Again, the dangers of surgery with ITP. The scariest thing for me was when I started losing hope. I thought I had been in the depths of despair before, but I hadn't, not even close. The pain was unbearable and I was losing myself in the process. I began to wonder why I should get up each morning, if it was just going to be another agonizing day bringing me closer to the end. I was losing myself, along with my hope of ever going home, returning to the life that I loved. What I wanted just one more time was to be free of the tubes and machines that kept me tied to that hospital bed. Return home to Howie and Mouse, my family and friends, and rejoice in the everyday, the smallest stuff. And I had been in the middle of a Breaking Bad marathon. That was really on my mind, actually. I really wanted to finish. I wanted to be home again, lungs breathing, however strained and crackly, bowels moving every single day. Eating food, drinking tea, spending my time, enjoying the stuff we take for granted. But it wasn't looking good. And on day 28, I was scheduled for surgery the next day. Surgery to open up my paralyzed bowels, get to the source of the obstruction, remove and relieve the obstruction, and salvage what was left. Perhaps I would need an ileostomy bag. Hopefully I wouldn't bleed out. Hopefully I would survive the surgery. Hopefully. There was a doctor who wanted to try one more time, one more procedure that had yet to be done. I was in so much pain that day. I was ready for them to slice me open on the table if it meant my pain would end. I was so broken down, so worn down from the pain. The surgeon looked into my eyes, and he asked me to try one more procedure, and then he would operate on me in the morning as planned. He didn't want to operate on me. Again, surgery and ITP. The surgeon asked me, and in that moment I knew I must do it. One more procedure. They weren't promising anything. It would be dangerous and painful, but I knew I could do it. And so followed a lengthy, difficult colonoscopy, and then a push-on endoscopy after that. One end and then the other. 3 hours of struggle and pain, and I was awake through it all. It was a battle. When it was over, I was wheeled back to my room, returned to my bed, and my mom pulled up a cot beside me to spend the night. The nurses said I was in for a long, uncomfortable night. What was new? The doctor himself had no idea what to expect. This had never been done before, as there had never been a bowel obstruction like mine. I lay in my bed for a few moments. A few minutes passed, and I began feeling a very special feeling. One I hadn't felt for, 28 days. "Mom," I said, "I think I have to go to the bathroom." She got me up and she helped me to where I needed to go. And that was it. After 28 days enduring the most painful time of my entire life, the scariest thing I had ever been through, a true nightmare brought to life. After all that, this procedure worked. Things were moving and I was healed. And the pain left me, not a word of a lie, instantly. It was my miracle. For weeks I had prayed, my family and friends had prayed for a miracle, and I received that miracle around 7 p.m., November 4th, 2012. Affectionately known as Poop Day in my family. It was a moment of pure joy and elation. The